There's a few things we do. One is we have always, for the last 3 years, we've been investing in really good, solid data foundation. Right? So we have automated data collection. We have simplified your lives in terms of ingesting your own client data into that data. And we also better organize it to support both AI and any kinds of downstream consumption of the data. So today we collect all Amazon data, we are collecting Walmart data. We just wrapped up our Shopify integration. TikTok ads is already there. TikTok shop is going to get done this week. We're also bringing in Google and metadata before the end of the month. Point is, we are data hungry and we'll consume all kinds of data into our data and knowledge foundation. Today's topic is near and dear to me, which is data stacks, especially for agencies. We have been working with many of the agencies in our ecosystem, learned a ton and evolved quite a bit along the way. And I'll say that, like Rolando mentioned, there's a few fundamental changes that are happening, which changes the constraints and the demands on how an agency should think about reporting and data stacks. And that's what we will cover. I'll also share with you some examples of how change has already come about in what we do and build. We'll end with how Intentwise is helping agencies, and then we'll get into Q&A. But let's dive in. I want to touch on 5 core changes that are happening at the moment, especially from an agency perspective. Number one, I think we all see it, the explosion of data being made available by Amazon or Walmart. This is very real. It's a lot compared to, let's say, 2-3 years ago. We've got a ton coming at us. And even when you think about something like Amazon Marketing Cloud, the signals within Amazon Marketing Cloud have continued to expand, and they'll continue to do so based on what we are hearing from a roadmap perspective. So lots of data coming at us, more than ever before. Now, if you look at 2025, tariffs kicked in. There is a lot of emphasis now by most advertisers and brands on profitability and efficient growth. Also, quite a few of these brands are private equity owned, private equity backed. And so that's another reason for why the focus on profitability, and I use the word efficient ahead of growth. There's just a lot of emphasis on ROI. And what that is leading to is expectation of agencies, and even if you're just running ads, is to not just look at ads, but look at impacts on all aspects of the channel. So this is another demand that is coming at all the agencies. Emerging channels, blurring lines. TikTok, one channel that I've heard from almost every brand I talk to that they are investing in is TikTok this year. On Shopify, many of the brands are on Shopify. You've got Buy with Prime firmly integrated into Shopify. You've got ChatGPT ads that are potentially coming out fairly soon. I also know many of you drive traffic from Google Ads into Amazon and Meta into Amazon. The point is, cross-channel influence is more than ever before, and so are questions around it. So you, the agency, will have to get your arms around this in order to serve your clients well going forward. A quick note on AMC. AMC historically was looked at just as, or traditionally has been looked at just as this advertising optimization lever. If you look at the data sets that are now made available in AMC, for example, the 5-year purchase data down to the shopper level, there's a lot of things you can do with AMC now, such as understanding subscribe and save rates, churn analysis, customer lifetime value, repeat purchase behavior, where the insights from AMC and now are valuable well beyond just ads. And then the last key point I want to make is, this is no surprise to anyone here, but AI is fundamentally transforming how we handle data, what we can do with data. It has certainly impacted how we develop products at Intentwise, but more and more AI will get commoditized, and that'll get into your hands. So you will have a Claude agent, you will have something from a Chat GPT or a Gemini. The question is like, okay, how could you put yourself in a position of getting the most out of data when AI is so widely available to everyone on your teams? So these are the 5 big shifts that are happening, because of which we all have to just make sure your data stack is going the right direction. So what is the ideal end state in the midst of all this? We think about this a lot, and we think about this in the context of a typical life cycle of a client for an agency like yours. You spend a lot of time acquiring clients. You do audits, you meet them at where they are, but you do a ton of audits and try to win their deals. Once that happens, you have to maintain a great quality of service despite you scaling. So you've got new team members, so on and so forth. How do you maintain quality of service? And then lastly, how do you expand a given client account? So these are three things that become important to build a healthy agency business. And so in that context, from a data perspective, here's a few things that I think are important going forward. Number one, you have to have easy and readily available mechanisms to combine advertising and retail data and look at your client's channel performance holistically. And if you don't do that, you're actually not part of the strategic conversation that the client having. You're a tactical service provider. Churn risk goes up. Similarly, cross-channel views, understanding, hey, did something happen on TikTok that is influenced by Amazon performance for a brand? Comprehensive client reporting, ideally a nice looking white label portal where clients can log in and see what they want to see, or you can build views that you want them to see. Troubleshooting and diagnostics. You never want to be in a situation where the client finds out an issue before you do. So, do you have processes and mechanisms in place where you have the fastest path to finding problems proactively and finding answers? Any growing client is going to have questions for you. So, you also need a mechanism to be able to ask ad hoc questions. Okay, so I'm going to get $100,000 more. Where should I deploy it? What should my budgets be for next year? So these are all ad hoc questions that you want easy data accessibility to answer. You have to build your muscle around clean rooms. AMC is Amazon's clean room, and I think every retail media network is now going to give you a clean room. And last but not least is agentic capability. In one form or fashion, clients will ask you about AI. In one form or fashion, your teams will be exploring AI tools. So, how do you get really good at leveraging agentic capabilities within your org? That's important too. But I think this is a set of things that have to be in place for you to be operating effectively from a data and analysis and reporting perspective. One other thing I want to point out, like we have looked at lots and lots of accounts and work with a ton of agencies. I think it's important to put a frame around the 5 different buckets of data that have to be brought together for any one client or brand to get a holistic view of performance. Advertising, we all know. Retail, I talked about a little bit, but I'm talking about things like sales, inventory, pricing, promos. Shopper intelligence, that's where data sources like Amazon Marketing Cloud play a big role, where you can understand shopper paths at a very granular level, create audiences, so on and so forth. Competitive intelligence, which is like share of voice and market share. And lastly, these 4 types of data have to be infused with your client specific data, such as unit costs on products, so you can understand profitability for the client, or product taxonomies. Some of the larger clients with large catalogs have their own groupings of products and things like that. So it is these 5 buckets of data that have to be brought together for you to have a holistic view of a particular brand's performance. And before I get into the evolution of the tech stack, I want to just quickly touch on what happens to data, right? Data flows through a certain set of stages everywhere. One is data collection, and then you ingest client specific things into that data, product categories, brand versus non-brand terms, so on and so forth. Data harmonization. So this is a part where you better organize the data to get to your answers quickly. Like for example, if you want a complete 360-degree view of a product's performance, you have to join 10 to 15 tables from different reports from Amazon. That exercise we call harmonizing. And then finally, when you have that nailed, is where you get data visualization, which is often dashboards or applications, whether that's an ad optimization application or a content application. But this is what I call the data supply chain. No matter what happens, this supply chain will remain. So in this context, what was a typical data stack that most of the agencies had? By the way, I'm talking about a data stack for agencies that have built some sort of internal infrastructure. Obviously, this is not relevant if you're an agency that has no internal infrastructure and relies on some hosted dashboard, and that's all you do. But any reasonable sized agency, has gone down the path of building some internal infrastructure, and this is what it traditionally looked like. You've got data collection mechanisms. Many of you have written API connectivity with Amazon. So data collection, harmonizing, and client data ingestion happens here and all gets into a data store. On top of that sit reporting tools that could be a Looker, Power BI, Tableau, sometimes even Excel, through which you build dashboards. And these dashboards generally are designed by people in your teams who have the domain expertise in their mind. So this is what the traditional stack looked like. But you know where time got consumed, right? And it takes a lot of time, and a lot of effort, which is collection of data, sitting and writing API connectivity with Amazon, not something you want to do and consumes a lot of time. Also build out a dashboards. This was a pain before. So what did we evolve to in the past? Quick summary on challenges with that data stack. Collection is painful. Build out of dashboards is time consuming. Cross-channel effects, understanding cross-channel effects is hard. And none of this plays well with something like AMC. So what did we do to circumvent these challenges before? We basically said, you know what, like many agencies have said, look, I don't need to deal with writing API connectivity. I'm going to rely on a third-party solution to get me the data. And then on top of that, I'll go build my dashboard. So that was what a lot of agencies did. By the way, we were one of the providers of this solution, and many agencies, even today in the market, leverage our data pipes, where we have handled this painful part of collecting, harmonizing, and ingesting client data. So that problem got solved, but there's still a pain point around dashboards. Any agency I talk to that is building internal dashboards, very rarely do I run into a situation where they say, oh, I have every dashboard I need. Between resource constraints and time constraints, building of dashboards is still a pain. And depending on the tool you choose, for example, if you take Looker doesn't make it easy for you to build out a client-facing portal. Or Power BI, it has its challenges. Not the best-looking solution aesthetically, kind of gets its job done. But these are all time-consuming, not so efficient things still. Okay, this is where I think one of the biggest evolution has just recently happened. So we have gone from this as being the traditional data stack, which is data store, reporting tools, dashboards, whatnot. And this is one of the big shifts that has happened over the last 6 to 8 months. And we have already gone through this shift with our solution. Reporting tools are being replaced by AI development tools. Dashboards are now being replaced with highly interactive, aesthetically better looking, collaborative applications. And just to give you a sense, what would take you days to build a dashboard, you can now get a nice looking application that serves the same purpose if you had the right AI tools within a day, because you could just ask it to build in natural language. So this is where we are today, and we at Intentwise have already gone through the shift in terms of the dashboards we expose to our clients. And so I'm going to walk you through some examples of what we have done in the recent past. And as I walk through some dashboards, it's less about what the dashboards reflect, and it's more about how do they look aesthetically, how quickly are we able to build out. But let me walk you through some examples of what these look like, what this transition looks like. So here is a view that brings together advertising and retail data sets together. This is a view for 1P vendors, something that we could design, envision, and build out in a matter of a couple of days because of AI.
Sreenath, I would just add one of the other functionalities that this shift has allowed us to have is more interactivity within these dashboards, almost becoming more like apps. And I think you can see an example of that here, where we know that different brands and different agencies like to look at their vendor metrics differently, whether that's shipped revenue, ordered revenue, or shipped COGS. And so those types of functionalities have been something that, recently we've been able to start building into how agencies start to consume data.
And so along the lines of integrating advertising and retail, we have rapidly built out all kinds of use cases, from content analytics to market basket analysis, understanding repeat purchase behavior, deep understanding from search query performance data, both on the 1P side as well as the 3P side. But so we've been able to launch an extensive catalog of dashboards very rapidly, all because of AI-led development sitting on top of the underlying data. Here's another example, like account audits. Every one of you does account audits. We already have pre-built dashboards to support account audits. But the beauty is this: if you come to us and say, look, I want my account audit capability to have these three unique views, we could rapidly envision and build that out in a matter of days. And that's the beauty of where we are today. Here's a cross-channel view, which we actually envisioned and started to build last week. This is a view that is bringing together Amazon, Shopify, and TikTok data together, again, with a lot of interactivity built in. This is a customer lifetime value. This was a very custom ask from a client who wanted to understand customer lifetime value for a 3, 6, and 12-month period of people who were acquired during a promotional period versus a non-promotional period. We could quickly write the queries and build this view in a matter of like just a couple of days. Here's another view where by product we are able to look at promotional period versus non-promotional period, new to brand, lifetime value, customer acquisition costs. Again, these are just examples to give you a flavor for the notion of as long as the data is collected, you think of a use case, it can be envisioned and built very, very quickly in the new stack. Actually, I'm going to show you one more thing, which is currently under development. But from an agency perspective, I think a lot of all agencies want to have a cross-agency view of what is going on. And here is an example of such a view where you've got media performance at the top, pacing by each account, and this is a demo view, account level performance of each of the accounts, and we've got a dashboard for account health that shows issues with specific accounts, and there's some ASINs that are either suppressed or there's been buy box loss on those accounts. Again, the point is that we now are at a place where if you were to design or envision a certain set of views that you want to have to monitor the health of your entire overall agency, we can get there very, very easily. So that is where we are today. This is not even the future. We are already here today. Okay. In the next 6 to 9 months, we expect another fundamental shift, and that is so far the domain expertise. When I say domain expertise, I'm talking about, let's say you want to troubleshoot an account's performance. You have a certain standard operating procedure, most likely, where you go through a number of steps. Let's say you want to audit an account, you go through a number of steps. That knowledge still resides in your teams and people's minds. Going forward, what's going to happen is that all that expertise can now be embedded into systems where you can, in almost like a chat-like interface, say, hey, go run me a detailed audit for this XYZ account, or research this product and come back and tell me exactly what went wrong. And then the system can come back and tell you, hey, there was a price change and followed by a loss of buy box, which is why this particular product is now declining in sales. So one of the shifts that's going to happen is you will have the ability to embed more and more of your domain expertise into the system itself, which was never possible before. So that's one big shift. And I think what we will end up with is, of course, we still need high quality data store. That doesn't go away, where data is comprehensive, data is well connected. You'll also have a knowledge layer on top of it. And with the use of AI tools on top, you'll end up with two things. You'll have interactive, actionable applications, some of which I just showed you. And when I say applications, one of the things AI is allowing us to do is, so for the last 25 years or so, we're all used to SaaS applications where they did the same thing for everybody. Customization was frowned upon because it did not help with unit economics. We are now at a place where you can think of an app that you want, and that can be built very specific to you and maintained with the same unit economics of the previous SaaS applications. So unique custom applications, dashboards, and specific agents is the world we are moving into. Not in 3 years, but it's going to happen this year, given the rate at which AI is evolving. And so again, yes, so interactive, actionable applications, many of which you can already experience if you were to use our product. And then agents. Ask Visi is our agent that we are currently aggressively developing, where you can be asking all kinds of analysis questions like, why did certain campaign underperform? What do you recommend as next steps? So on and so forth. But the world is going to be apps and agents going forward. By the way, if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A box, and happy to take them. And so I think so what should you as the agency do now? There's a few things I would focus on. Number one, no matter how fancy AI gets, the quality of output is only as good as the quality of the input. So it is important to own and control your data set and keep it rich and connected and comprehensive. That is super important. The second thing I would say is start experimenting with visualization using AI tools. Whether you use Claude, whether you use Bolt, what have you, you can visualize things. So I would start experimenting with that. So you start to get a feel for where this can go. Third, going forward, awesome data and knowledge layer combined is really your superpower. And when I say knowledge layer, what I mean is you could start with documenting at a detailed level what your process looks like. That can serve as the knowledge layer to begin with. Okay. So it's important to capture the mental analysis trees you and your teams are executing into documents, because those will be part of the input into go forward AI models, which will then allow you to do a lot more things at scale in an automated fashion. I want to touch on what role are we playing in this evolution. So there's a few things we do. One is we have always, for the last 3 years, we've been investing in really good, solid data foundation. Right? So we have automated data collection. We have simplified your lives in terms of ingesting your own client data into that data. And we also better organize it to support both AI and any kinds of downstream consumption of the data. So today we collect all Amazon data, we are collecting Walmart data. We just wrapped up our Shopify integration. TikTok ads is already there. TikTok shop is going to get done this week. We're also bringing in Google and metadata before the end of the month. Point is, we are data hungry and we'll consume all kinds of data into our data and knowledge foundation. We then have an AI development engine on top, which is serving our agency clients in uh, 5 unique ways. Number one, we can continue to send you reliable data pipes if that's what you're doing with us today. The data within those pipes will get richer and richer to help you with any downstream things you do on your end. So that's one. Pre built visualizations. If you do not want to invest in your internal visualization capabilities, we have a pretty exhaustive library of already built visualizations, aesthetically nice looking, interactive. And by the way, you can white label all of those. You can put them in on a domain that says analytics.youragencyname.com, expose it to your clients. Smart applications, I would put our advertising optimization solution into that bucket, which operates far better than before because it is now tied into our e-commerce data foundation. Rapid custom development, and I want to elaborate on this point. We are leaning into your custom needs, whether that custom need is this unique dashboard you want, or a unique AMC query written, or you want some sort of an MMM modeling or incrementality work done for your client. It doesn't matter. We are going to lean in and help you build out a stack that is very specific and unique to you. And last but not least, Intentwise MCP is something that we are in very early stages, but we'll be rolling out. For those of you that have not heard the word MCP, it stands for Model Control Protocol. It is the equivalent of APIs in the agentic world. Okay. So if you have a Claude client that you're using and you want to get certain data sets on which you want to do some analysis, you can talk to the Intentwise MCP and ask for that data, and we'll give you that data. So that's what Intentwise MCP stands for. You'll see more and more from us around Intentwise MCP in the near future. But these are the 5 different ways we help you. You can choose one or more ways of interfacing with us today. And then, yeah, I mean, look, we just work with a ton. Here's a few agencies. There's 150 plus agencies we work with today, and we have great partnerships with them. I would love to help you out. With that, we can get into Q&A. And there is I think there's also a poll Kenton will launch. There's a couple of things we could possibly do with you. One is just schedule a free consult to see where things are and how you should think about your roadmap for the rest of the year. And also happy to demonstrate our product capabilities we have and see how we can help you that is complementary to your current investments.
So one question we got is we're currently using Intentwise to plug into Google Data Studio. How easy is it for us to switch to Smart Apps and take our Google Data Studio reports and make them into dashboards or naps within Intentwise? I think that, at least from my perspective, that process has become a lot easier. I think as Sreenath was talking through those custom functions and in that current phase we're in, how much easier building dashboards and apps has become. That's a process that we've gone through multiple times of taking existing reporting and building it into a model where you as an agency don't have to worry about maintenance and making updates for every client or anything like that. So that's 100% something that we can and do support on.
It's pretty straightforward actually, and I'll tell you the added benefit of this change. If you're using Looker Studio, trying to stand up client-facing reports, you probably are making copies and sharing with people, and it's a mess. There's a couple of things you're going to get through this transition. Number one, there's just like aesthetically better and more interactive, and B, you can stand up client facing portals very quickly. And then the third thing I'll add is that very soon you will see that these are no longer dashboards, there'll be interactivity from dashboards into ad management as well if you desire. So it's just going to get richer and richer. And yeah, short answer, very quick. Let's have a chat and see what the gaps are, and we can figure out a path forward. Yeah, let me take this question. Is it important to be a multi agency? Can agency succeed on Amazon ads alone? Great question. I think you can be Amazon focused. What you cannot get away from is people asking questions about impact from other channels on Amazon. So that is a given. Now, I think it's hard for me to say if you're just an Amazon ads focused agency, is there a not a business to be made? I think there is. I just increasingly there's two demands you're going to get. One is you can't just be looking at ad data. You have to know every to a fair degree what is going on with some core elements of overall channel for that advertiser, such as profitability, returns, just a number of subscribe and save, like a few other aspects. You have to know them cold. And second is, I think people will ask you about how other channels are impacting Amazon. So to that extent, it is important to build the muscle around understanding multi-channel impacts. Does that mean you have to be offering TikTok services? You have to be offering Shopify services? I'm not sure that that is the case.
Awesome. Looks like we don't have any other questions. So with that, we will call it a day and we'll see you at the next webinar. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Sreenath.